What's a bedtime story your parents told you, and now you realize it was actually kind of messed up? When I was a kid, my mom had one signature bedtime story. It wasn't from a book, it wasn't something we heard in school, and it definitely wasn't something other kids seemed to know. For years, I thought it was just a quirky, original tale she made up for me. Only as an adult did I realize it was more like a family heirloom of nightmares, a messed up cautionary story that still creeps me out to this day. The story was always about the Crooked Woman. According to my mom, the Crooked Woman lived deep in the forest outside a little village. She was old, hunched, with her back bent at an unnatural angle, and her smile full of blackened teeth. My mom described her in such detail that I can still picture her. Wiry white hair hanging like cobwebs, long arms that dragged near the ground, and fingers so sharp they could slice paper. The story always began the same way. There was a little boy in the village who was known for being adventurous and restless. His parents told him not to wander into the forest, but he never listened. One evening, just before the sun went down, he strayed too far and couldn't find his way back. That's when he met her. The Crooked Woman appeared sitting on a fallen log, humming softly. She told the boy she could guide him back home, but only if he promised to do one thing in return. He had to keep his bedroom window unlocked every night. That was the deal. If he agreed, she would show him the path out of the woods. The boy, scared and lost, agreed without hesitation, and just like that, she led him home. But the story didn't end there. This is where my mom would lean closer, lower her voice, and tell me what happened next. Every night after that, the Crooked Woman came to visit. Sometimes she would just stand in the corner of his room watching him sleep. Sometimes she would lean right over him, her face inches away, breathing her sour breath onto his cheek. And sometimes she would run her long bony fingers through his hair, like a mother soothing a child, except her nails scratched his scalp and left tiny marks. But the boy never woke up. He never saw her, never cried out, and still he always kept his window unlocked. The moral, according to my mom, was simple. That's why you have to keep your promises, because if you don't, the Crooked Woman might come for you instead. As a little kid, I didn't question it. To me, it was just another spooky story with a lesson, like how fairy tales warn you not to stray from the path or talk to strangers. I actually thought it was kind of cool that my mom had her own special story that no one else seemed to know. But here's the thing, it worked. I was terrified of breaking promises. If I said I'd do something, I'd lose sleep making sure it got done because somewhere in the back of my mind, I pictured that crooked silhouette standing in the corner of my room. I would lie in bed, blanket pulled up to my chin, staring at my unlocked window, half expecting to see her face pressed against the glass. It wasn't until much later, probably when I was 17 or 18, that it hit me how utterly messed up that story was. Most kids got told sweet bedtime stories, or maybe slightly spooky fairy tales that still ended happily. I was basically told a horror story about a supernatural intruder stalking children in their sleep, passed off as a lesson about honesty. And the weirdest part, when I finally asked my mom about it, she shrugged and said, "Oh, my grandmother used to tell me that one." So it wasn't even her invention. This creepy, unsettling tale had been passed down through at least 3 generations of my family, each one apparently thinking it was perfectly normal bedtime material. Looking back now, I realize how much that story messed with my head. I developed this hypervigilance about windows and doors. I used to check the locks over and over again before bed, sometimes sneaking back out of my room just to double check them. And the irony? The Crooked Woman's whole condition was keeping the window unlocked. So the story actually punished me either way. If I locked it, I broke the promise. If I left it unlocked, I felt vulnerable. I didn't see how twisted that was until I told the story to a friend in college. We were swapping childhood memories, and I laughed and said, "Oh, here's the weird story my mom used to tell me." I recited it the same way she always had, voice low, adding dramatic pauses. When I finished, my friend just stared at me and said, "That's not a bedtime story, that's literally a horror movie plot." And they were right. Now, as an adult, I can't help but wonder what the original purpose of the story even was. Was it just a creepy folktale, a way to scare kids into obedience, or something darker, like a generational fear that got disguised as a lesson? I'll never really know. But one thing's for sure, it was not the harmless childhood memory I thought it was. So yeah, while other kids were falling asleep to Goodnight Moon or the Three Little Pigs, I was lying awake, terrified that a crooked old woman with claws for fingers was going to slip in through my window at night. And only years later did I realize just how messed up that really was.